Welcome to Andy Staples On3, and it is a very special edition of the show. We're going to play the game that is sweeping the nation. We've done this once before, but we're bringing it all in-house now. In fact, we've hired our own expert host for this round. And of course, I'm talking about whose team is it anyway?
Maybe you're a former five-star who couldn't find the field at your first school. Or maybe you blew up in the FCS or Division II and want to take your talents to the Power 5. Or maybe you just got a sweet NIL deal and always wanted to drive a G-Wagon. No matter the reason, you fell into the transfer portal and now you're somewhere else. We have to remember where you're playing, and you know what that means? It's time for another game of Whose Team Is It Anyway?
All right. And of course, we brought in some help here. Pete Nakos, On3's master of the transfer portal, is going to be our master of ceremonies for this game. Pete, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for providing your immense transfer portal knowledge. I know you didn't even have to look any of these guys up. I just said make a list in varying degrees of difficulty of guys who transferred this year. I imagine they just came pouring out of your brain.
So my biggest challenge in compiling these list of athletes was how easy is easy. How many layups do I give you and our guest contestant? So should be fun. Feel really good about some of them. Some other ones I'm gonna just have to bear with because I'm like, if you guys don't get this, you should be covering college football in 2024. So it's gonna be.
That's
fun.
what I'm scared of, Pete. Like if I don't get that, perhaps I get canceled. Maybe I get fired even. So this is a risky show.
We're putting your neck out there.
All right. That brings me to our other contestant. So I will be one contestant. Pete will be our host. Cody Bellaire, On3's national scout, who, while working for various teams, probably evaluated a lot of these guys as recruits, and certainly while working on On3, evaluated them as they were in the portal. Hi, Cody.
Hello, everyone. I got to say the intro music was phenomenal. So I'm fired up for this even more than I was going in. I'm going to say my immediate default for getting these wrong is, oh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm just so buried in high school tape. You know, I'm just doing my best eval. I get lost in the portal these days, man. That's why we got Pete.
Well, and that's why we're doing this, because it is the off season, but the season's going to be here before we know it. And you know, we did cover a lot of the spring portal guys, but Pete's going to be bringing up a lot of the guys who transferred in the winter portal and who went through spring practice with their new teams. And I think there's a lot of, your casual fans out there, or your fans that they do follow it a lot, but they follow mostly their own team. They're going to be like, wait, that guy's playing where again? And it'll be a good reminder.
Yeah, I'm going to have that same reaction to a lot of these, and that's going to be great.
So one thing we need to talk about before we jump into this is there's multi-time transfers now, right? The NCAA has completely reworked how it oversees the portal. Okay. And now athletes can transfer multiple times and play right away. So this is the first time this show has ever included those multi-time transfers who can play immediately.
Well, and the other thing, I'm guessing a certain person is going to hit in this show. I don't know if I'm giving too much away. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that someone doesn't have a final transfer destination quite yet?
So I opted not to do that, but there's some very fresh commitments. So
interesting.
What about transfers that entered the portal, committed to a school, and then went back to the school they transferred from?
We don't have that, but we do have a 4-time transfer.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect. I'm very excited
I did tell Pete. I was like, it's probably funnier if you make us name all the schools if it's somebody who's been to 3 or 4 schools. So
that's killer.
All right. So the way we're gonna play the game is we don't have buzzers, and obviously we're doing this via StreamYard, so we don't know if there's any sort of lag. So we're not gonna try to buzz in. Basically, Cody will be up first. It will be his turn. If he misses it, I can steal. If I miss my turn, the next turn, Cody can steal. Hopefully, our producer River's keeping score, because I don't know if I'm going to be capable of that. And we will see if we need to have a transfer off at the end. But
yeah.
I'm very, very nervous, excited, and gentlemen, well, Pete's going to have a job, but me and Cody may not by the end of this.
100%.
All right. Let's get this thing rolling. So starting off, we'll give this to Cody.
Wait, before one more second. We're on the honor system. Like, we could have computers.
Yeah.
You'd never
Our
know.
monitors are off. We're off.
We're on the honor system here.
We're soloed right now. Do we also have a prize for this? Is there a prize?
You don't get fired.
I'll take that. I'm loving this. I'll take that.
All right. Well,
I'm so excited for this layup that I'm absolutely gonna miss.
all right.
Go ahead, Pete.
All right. Let's start this thing off.
Okay.
At the number 1 overall spot at the safety position, Caleb Downs.
Come on.
With Alabama, Ohio State.
Correct.
Finally.
Correct.
Okay, good. Guys, this is the best player arguably in the sport right now. Caleb Downs. The things he's able to do, especially last year. I mean, as a true freshman in Alabama, the amount of tackles this guy had, his ability to play downhill in the box, to be able to rove as a center fielder, like this is an all-encompassing DB that if he was draft eligible right now, I think would still be taken in the top 10. He is genuinely special as a defensive back.
I'll just add real quick about his recruitment, guys, that, I mean, this did not look like Ohio State for the 72 hours his recruitment went on. Georgia was thought to be the leader from the beginning. And then the tides really changed on that one when Ryan Day and some of the Ohio State coaching staff went down to Georgia and did an in-home with him. And I believe like within 24 hours, he made a decision and went to Ohio State. And he's had a really good spring in Columbus, but a really interesting one that I think we'll be continuing to talk about all season and probably in the CFP of how Ohio State beat Georgia out for Caleb Downs and in the impact that he'll make in the secondary for the Buckeyes.
Well, and it's not just him as a player, it's what he can do for their defense in terms of putting their best 11 on the field. We talked about this a bunch on my show. Like, Sonny Styles was a pretty good safety at Ohio State. He's going to be an incredible linebacker. Like, that's probably what he should be playing in this era of college football at his size and speed. And this allows him to move there. And you've got JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer in front of him. You've got Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke still in that secondary. I love the way this defense is put together now, kind of around Caleb Downs.
Yeah, totally. All right, well let's keep this thing going. Ball goes over to Andy.
Can I say one more thing? Just since we're playing the hypothetical, can you imagine if Caleb Downs and Malachi Starks were on the same team? That would have been
on to Georgia.
Unfair, completely unfair.
Yeah, it's the hypotheticals in college football right now are out of this world.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna go over to Andy. All right, defensive lineman Waler Nolen.
Waler Nolen transferred from Texas A&M to Ole Miss. The defensive lineman that we thought would never be available in the not necessarily Walter, but the caliber of defensive lineman that we said, oh, that'll never be available in the portal because whatever school they're at will always step up to keep them. But he went in the portal, winds up at Ole Miss, which this is what they needed. Like, if you watch that Ole Miss Georgia game from Athens last year, the deficiency was on the line of scrimmage. That was the difference between those two teams. They needed a player like Waler Nolen, multiple players like Waler Nolen. I don't know how many other Ole Miss transfers you have in here. I'll mention Princely Emmanuel from Florida, who's an edge rusher, but they added him on the D-line as well. Waler Nolen was a big get and one of those that when he went into the portal, it was like, okay, this is what everybody wants. Caleb Downs, as Cody mentioned, maybe the best player in college football. Waler Nolen, probably the rarest commodity available in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead. What you got?
I'm sorry, Cody. So Caleb Downs, Waler Nolen, two of our top guys on the board in the portal, both winter guys. The really interesting thing too about Waler Nolen it was kind of always Ole Miss, right? Entered the portal. He's from the Memphis area, close to home. Ole Miss checks off a lot of the boxes for him, gets to play for Randall Joyner, and I mean, going to be really interesting to see if he's the kind of guy who can help Ole Miss get to the playoff. And I'll tee that one up for you right there, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Andy and you guys touched on. This is somebody that should not be in the portal. And I'm going to give kudos to this Ole Miss staff and their personnel crew and their collective, because the way they approach the portal clearly has been paying off, landing so many of these big targets. But their philosophy and the way they approach the portal is going to become the standard in college football. And so kudos to them for landing such a big fish. And I think it's going to pay dividends for this team.
Totally. So we're at 1-1 now. We're going to toss back over to Cody.
Okay.
Continuing with a few layup-esque guys here.
Don't say that.
We pivot to this is an interesting one. Iowa offensive lineman Kadyn Proctor.
All right. So I'm okay. Excellent. So we're gonna go Alabama, Iowa, Alabama.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. I mean, guys, when we talk about big fish, right? If you're Alabama and you're Kalen DeBoer, this had to have been someone where you go, we have to get this guy back here. Like, that's someone that took a lot of quality reps as a true freshman last year, had some up and down. He had a little bit of a roller coaster ride at tackle, but this is a large human that is going to move bodies off the football. He's going to develop as a pass protector. He's always been strong in the run game. Another year under his belt on this offensive line. This is someone that Alabama really needed to come back, and I think they're going to be happy that he's on their offensive front.
Totally.
So this is a guy who took his lumps as a freshman. Like, you watch that Tennessee game, James Pierce is giving him all kinds of trouble. He had a lot of trouble against Arkansas. But then you move to the SEC championship game, and he looks fantastic against Georgia. He just needed to kind of grow up in the position a little bit. Mm-hmm. He did that. One thing I think will be interesting to watch about Kadyn Proctor this season with Kalen DeBoer running the show at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer likes a little bit smaller type of offensive lineman. They like them to play a little bit lighter. Kadyn Proctor played around 360 last year. I would be surprised if he plays above about 335 this year. So I think you're going to have him still be a giant human being, but probably a little bit lighter on his feet, more mobile.
Yeah. And the thing that's interesting too with Kadyn Proctor in particular, I want to say he was one of the younger prospects in his recruiting cycle. I don't know if Proctor's 19 yet. So this is still someone developing and growing into their frame. So I think his body's still changing, to your point, Andy, and I think DeBoer's going to get a lot out of him.
I like getting him back on the line with Tyler Booker. I think Alabama has a potential to have a really good offensive line year one under Kalen DeBoer. All right, let's keep this thing going. Let's see if Andy can tie it back up. All right. He is now on to his third school, Andy Staples. He's a quarterback. His name's Dillon Gabriel.
Dillon Gabriel started his career at UCF, then moved to Oklahoma, and now he is at Oregon, where he could actually be the most impactful transfer this season, because while Dillon Gabriel, and there was a really good story by Chris Kamrani in The Athletic recently about Dillon Gabriel's path to Oregon. A lot of the reason he's at Oregon right now is because the NFL folks were not real high on him. You know, he got a 6th, 7th undrafted type grade and decided one more year of college is good for me. Dillon Gabriel is a fabulous college quarterback. We don't know how good of an NFL quarterback he'll be, but as a college quarterback, he can run. He's got a good arm. He's very accurate. He's very confident, very poised. And so you go into an offense where Will Stein is in his second season as the offensive coordinator. Bo Nix completed, I believe, 78% of his passes last year. I think we're going to see Dillon Gabriel approach that. You know, you're not asked to throw a lot of high risk passes in this Oregon offense. There's a lot of high confidence, get the ball to playmakers in space kind of thing. Well, Dillon Gabriel, you saw at Oklahoma, he can do that. But also when you need him to win a game with his legs, as the Texas game told us last year, he can do that too.
And Andy, this is a guy, I want to say he had the lowest turnover rate out of any quarterback in Power 5 football last year. This is a guy that's going to take care of the rock. And if you're Oregon, with how talented this roster is, you just need someone to keep the gas going, right? Keep their foot on the pedal. Like, no mistakes, no hiccups. Just hand the ball off. Be extended handoff. right? That's a lot of what this Oregon game is. So they brought in someone that I genuinely think is a perfect fit for this offense.
And someone who I is not going to be on this game show, but they bring in Evan Stewart, the wide receiver from Texas A&M, and I think, echoing what you guys said, they have a really talented wide receiver room. If Dillon Gabriel can just get the ball to Trayshawn Holden and Evan Stewart, I think things are going to go well in Eugene. On a lighter note, too, Dillon Gabriel has really used his NIL platform for good. He gave uniforms to his high school football team this spring. Good guy. Interested to see how things pan out at Oregon.
Nice.
So moving on. This is our first daily double.
Oh, ba-boo. Do we have that sound?
Are you betting? Does Cody get to bet on this?
Cody could bet on it. I didn't really factor that in. But okay, this is an edge named Tyler Barron. He's on to his third school. But Cody, if you can name the school that he was committed to in the wintertime, we'll give you 1.5 points.
I can't even remember. I know it's Louisville, Tennessee, but I couldn't tell you. I have no clue. I'll take the X. I'll take the buzzer.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so ready to steal. Tyler Barron started his career at Tennessee. He was the edge rusher opposite James Pierce Jr. last year.
Yeah.
He then committed to Ole Miss. He then committed to Louisville. He is now in the market for another team, unless Pete has a Nakosification for me.
Is
right?
this breaking?
Or did I miss something?
both wrong here. He committed to Miami, I think about 2 weeks ago now.
That's right. Doggone it.
Gosh.
So
Pete
River,
is
mark that down.
Such a
no
consummate professional. Gosh.
God.
He just knows everything.
Yeah.
Well,
Bunch of X's.
But yes, he was at Louisville he was at Ole Miss, then goes to Louisville for the spring. Like, because he got to Oxford, like was in an apartment in Oxford, and then went to Louisville and went through spring with them, and then went back. And Ole Miss was rumored to be another.
So what's really interesting here is, so he lands at Miami. A lot of people thought he was going to be a package deal with the stepbrother, Wesley Walker, the defensive back, who actually ended up at Michigan. And he actually did consider Ole Miss this spring, had to sit down at one point with the coaching staff. He visited USC as well. LSU looked like he was in the mix, but he settles on Miami. He's going to be a Hurricane. And to be honest here, guys, I wasn't sure how we were going to score this, so it's a good thing you both got it wrong.
Well, and I think this is another thing we should probably remember is the default, Cody. Like, if we can't remember where they ended up, just guess Miami.
That's fair. That's a solid strat. I mean, this is they lost Jaden Wayne too, right, in the portal.
Yep, he went to Washington.
So that's somebody that comes in. Tyler Barron can come and fill that spot. I mean, he's an explosive edge player. You know, he's had some stuff. Obviously, he's kind of bounced around commitment to commitment, school to school. So you got to see if that's figured out. But we're talking on the field strictly. I mean, this guy's dynamic, pure pass rusher. So this is someone that's going to make an impact, especially on this Miami team that has Ruben Bain inside. Yeah. If you let Tyler Barron pin his ears back, there's going to be some trouble for quarterbacks playing that team.
Totally. All right. Well, this one is going to go over to Andy now because Cody, you missed that one initially.
I'll take it.
We got a defensive lineman back on the board here, Nic Scourton.
Ooh, this is a really interesting one. And it's almost, I'm glad you asked me because Cody was too close to this during the original recruitment. Cody was working at Texas A&M. Nic Scourton is from the Bryan College Station area, was not a member of that incredible defensive line group in the 2022 Texas A&M signing class. He signed with Purdue, where he became one of the best pass rushers in the country. And now he returns home, where he will be a pass rusher for the Aggies and Mike Elko. And that is going to be a fun thing to watch because this is a guy, Cody, I'm going to let you take it away because I know you know a lot more about his background and upbringing and skill set. But, man, I know they're excited about him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid from Bryan High School, right? Like, he is literally within 10 minutes of that stadium. And he was someone that was playing a lot of off-ball linebacker, right, at 240 pounds, came to camp with us, found him as this tweener body type, wasn't sure how much weight he's going to put on, but is he athletic enough to play off-ball, goes to Purdue, puts on a very comfortable 45 pounds, and has become an absolute monster of an edge defender, hand in the dirt guy, can play 5 technique, can stand up if you need him to, can kick inside on an interior pass rush. He does everything along the defensive front. And I know the A&M crew, I mean, there's a few folks I know inside that building still, and this guy is going to contend for captaincy of this Texas A&M team. So great kid off the field, great player on it, checks all the boxes.
So we are non-biased here at whose team is it anyway. So as Cody is secretly angrily at me for teeing that one up to Andy, we moved to quarterback Cam Ward.
Yeah, Cam Ward. So we are a Washington State to
What was the
Miami.
first school, though?
Yeah.
What was the first school?
Oh,
Stay in your lane. Who was the first school?
We're Incarnate Word,
Yep.
Washington State, Miami.
Yep.
I appreciate the handoff there because I did forget we're doing all of them. Tyler Barron has thrown me for a loop, folks. that is what's happening. But Cam Ward, I mean, Pete, you can probably have better intel on this than me. Was this the hottest commodity quarterback this cycle?
Yeah, by far the hottest commodity. And I think what people need to look at too is, yes, I think Riley Leonard had a lot of suitors, but that was kind of a lock to Notre Dame from day one. Cam Ward was one of the few guys who went in who I think really evaluated all his options. Washington was in this for a minute. And then Auburn makes the last minute push. Obviously, Miami and Florida State go back and forth. He declares for the NFL draft on January 1st, 2024. Less than 30 days later, he withdraws from the draft and commits to Miami. And I mean, we can all speak on this, but the reviews out of South Beach this spring have been phenomenal. We just talked about Tyler Barron. They also got Sam Brown, the Houston wide receiver, Oregon State running back Damian Martinez. And I think a lot of those commitments don't happen if they don't get Cam Ward out of the transfer portal. There's a lot of momentum and hope right now that he could be the guy to really get Miami back on track to the ACC title game. Time will tell, but definitely a huge pickup. And obviously in this day and age it was an NIL recruitment as well. And he settles on the Canes.
I was happy for Cam Ward that he landed with an air raid coordinator. Shannon Dawson has been in that system for a long time. So the history of Cam Ward is I can't remember if it was a wing tee or a triple option offense that he ran in high school, but it was not a big passing offense. Incarnate Word had him in camp. They knew he could throw. They kind of kept the lid on that. So he goes to Incarnate Word, replaced for Eric Morris, who then gets the OC job at Washington State. Eric Morris is now the head coach at North Texas. But we thought that, this would be a huge thing. And it was good at Washington State. I don't know that the talent was around him enough. And then Morris left because he got that head coaching job. So, I don't know that we've seen him fully realized yet. And I think that's the question is in Shannon Dawson's offense with the amount of talent like Xavier Restrepo, Damian Martinez coming in from Oregon State with that offensive line in front of him, is he going to be fully realized now? And I think that's what the Miami people are very excited about.
Yeah, and another smart decision, I think, on that, Andy, and Pete touched on it. His decision to not declare could end up making that cat way more money long-term than if he were to potentially have declared this quarterback cycle where you had, how many guys get drafted in the first round? 5, 6 quarterbacks go in the first round?
Yep.
And, it's obviously still very early until that next draft class.
Right.
But there's not a clear-cut guy now. I think Cam Ward very much has a shot to solidify his spot as QB1 come the draft next year.
Agreed, especially if everything goes well. So
right.
We're going to stick at the quarterback position here. Believe this one goes over to Andy now. Quarterback Kyle McCord.
Oh, this was the bomb. I just remember I was in Nashville on the day the transfer portal opened for the winter, and Pete calls me at about, I want to say it was like 6:55 a.m. local time. I remember I was sitting outside of Panera Bread about to fill up a giant cup of coffee because I knew JD Piquel and I were going to be doing a very long transfer portal day show. And Pete goes, so I'm about to put in the I'm about to drop a story that Kyle McCord's entering the transfer portal. I'm like, do what now? Like, he lost to Michigan like 3 days ago. What are we talking about? This was the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Yes, transfer portal. He did visit Nebraska. He did not end up going to Nebraska. He ended up going to Syracuse, where Fran Brown, the new head coach, has put together basically a New York, Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania all-star team. And Fran Brown, when he was on our show, explained like a lot of the relationships he has, knows a lot of these high school coaches. In the case of Kyle McCord, it's even deeper. Fran Brown's wife used to work with Kyle McCord's dad when Kyle McCord was in like elementary school. So the relationship goes back a ways.
And what I'll just jump in here and add, and this recruitment was really fascinating because if you guys remember, he went on that Nebraska visit and everything was tracking to him becoming a Husker. And then when he's on the visit, the news breaks that Dylan Raiola is going to decommit from Georgia and ultimately land at Nebraska. And from what sources told me at the time and everything, like that news was like so eye-opening to McCord and his family that they're like, this is just not going to work here because Cody, I mean, you can speak to it of how talented of a high school product Dylan Raiola is, but I mean, Nebraska fans love that family. They love the opportunity he brings, and not to get completely off base here, but Dylan Raiola is going to be interested to see how it goes in year one, and his decision had a lot to do with the reason why Kyle McCord landed at Syracuse.
Yeah, and just to go into the relationship side of it, deal with Fran Brown at Syracuse, and like you mentioned, Andy, those New Jersey, New York, upstate ties. He brought in Elijah Robinson as well, and that's someone I had the pleasure of working with at Texas A&M as the D-line coach there. I did his travel for recruiting weekends, and when I tell you that guy had the easiest travel job on the planet, he would say, hey, Cody, just put me in Houston, Philadelphia, and New Jersey on Fridays. I'll take care of the rest. That guy is built to be a coach there, and Fran Brown as well. That combo, getting players to Syracuse, is going to be dangerous for years up there.
Okay, let's keep this ball moving. We're going to move back to the line of scrimmage.
Okay. And see, I know this is only going to get tougher. So every time we bounce back to me, that next level jump just sends a little jolt of fear in me. So let's go ahead.
I think that this one is really intriguing. He was on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list this past year. His name is Thor Griffith. He's a defensive lineman.
Oh my gosh, even worse. I know where he came from, couldn't tell you where he ended up. So it's Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
But where did he go, Pete? I'll take the X, man. I couldn't. Yeah. I'll venture. I'll take. How about I lied? Let me at least guess.
Yeah.
Harvard kid. Where would he want to go? He's a smart guy. I'll say, I don't know, Illinois. I have
no.
All right. So we actually had Thor on the show before the season last year.
Helpful.
Asked him if he ever got bored bench pressing 225 45 times, like around rep 37. Do you get bored? No, he apparently does not get bored.
Sick.
Remember how I said that if you don't know, guess Miami. The other one, if you don't know, guess Louisville. Thor Griffith is going to Louisville from Harvard.
Yep.
Strong.
Yep.
Strong.
A huge pickup on the defensive line for the Cards.
Huge pickup because they're already they're good on the edge. Yeah. Like they got the Ashton Gillette and Mason Rager. Like they needed some help up the middle. So you put him up the middle with those dudes off the edge. Like Louisville is a very intriguing team this year.
Yeah, and man, they did a great job in the portal. I mean, they add their starting quarterback's going to be from the portal. Texas Tech transfer Tyler Shuck and quite a few other guys.
I got that one, Pete. I got that one.
Know.
I was there. I got Tyler.
I know.
But what was the first school?
Oregon.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was there.
I may have gone out of my way to make sure he wasn't on the list. Anyways.
Strong. Smart.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to go back to the show now. This one goes. Well, never mind. This one goes.
This is mine because I stole.
Yeah. This is Andy's. This is Andy's. Offensive lineman Cayden Green.
Oh, this is an interesting one, and I'm kind of cheating because I had a Dear Andy question about Bill Bedenbaugh last week, but So Cayden Green was at Oklahoma. He started the last 4 games of the season. They thought he was going to be a starting guard for them this year. He ends up going to Missouri, back home to Missouri. I believe he's St. Louis Metro type guy, Lee's Summit, I think. But this is a case of Missouri and NIL. It's changed everything. Like they're getting guys that they out of high school, like Luther Burden, like Williams Noweri, and keeping them home, and then getting some guys to come back home. And I think Cayden Green's a good example of that. They needed some help on the offensive line and went and got a guy who would have been starting for another SEC team.
I think. Go ahead, Pete. What you got?
No. I was just saying this was a stunt. Like, people at Oklahoma did not know this was coming. This was easily one of the biggest surprises of the winter transfer portal. I've heard stories about how the Oklahoma coaching staff didn't even know he was going to the compliance office. But yeah, and it's just a huge impact transfer too. He obviously wouldn't have been able to transfer in the spring, but now with Oklahoma going to the SEC.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the impact of this one is really both sides. Mizzou gets somebody to come in and protect for Brady Cook, who had an excellent year last year. Mizzou's hoping to replicate the magic that they put on the field last year. And on the other side of it, Oklahoma's starting to essentially a new starter at quarterback in Jackson Arnold. Yes, he's a 5-star. Yes, he played a couple games last year, but the more help you had on the offensive front helps, especially for those guys that are going into a new environment in the SEC. They're playing a tough schedule early. So having a guy like Cayden Green not on your roster, if you're Oklahoma, and yes, Bill Bedenbaugh, phenomenal coach, you still take players that can play. And him going to Mizzou, that's a tough blow.
Totally. All right, Cody. This one's back over to you. I really like your odds here. Quarterback. Okay. Quarterback DJ Uiagalalei.
Yeah, DJ U. So this is going to be a Clemson, Oregon State, Florida State.
Bingo.
Beautiful. For 5-star. I mean, fortunately, that one stuck in there. But DJ U, man, I mean, the thing that's so funny about quarterbacks, and I really think the guy that sort of changed this for me is Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix, superstar coming out of high school, right? Extremely high-rated quarterback, goes to Auburn, plays early, hits a bit of a wall, right? Change of scenery, completely different player. Becomes a first-round pick.
Right.
I'm not saying DJ U is going to become a first-round pick necessarily, but you have no clue what a change of scenery can do for some of these guys. And at Florida State and what they've been able to do offensively, especially last year with Jordan Travis, who knows what could happen with DJU as a Seminole.
I've talked to Mike Norvell about this, and we had DJ on the show too. One with DJ, I was surprised at how quickly he just sort of, got into that culture, became respected by his teammates. Those guys love him already. And Mike Norvell is very excited about what he can do with DJ. I don't think he looks at DJ he doesn't look at DJ as a Tim Tebow type. And I think that's what, when you see the size, you assume that this is just you're going to bulldoze with this guy and then you're going to throw deep with this guy. There's a lot more you can do with him. And Mike Norvell knows that, because when DJ was at Clemson 2 years ago and they went to Tallahassee, that's maybe the best game he played as a Clemson Tiger. So Mike Norvell's seen the best of what DJ can do. And I think he's going to try to unlock that. They've got a pretty talented backfield. We'll see with those receivers. Obviously, Keon Coleman's not there anymore, but I do think they're going to have some pretty talented receivers. So yeah, I think DJ could have his own kind of renaissance. I like the change of scenery thing is real.
I give DJU a lot of credit too, because he knew he wanted to go to Florida State and he stuck with them. And Florida State tried to feel out Cam Ward, but he continued to go on those visits to Tallahassee, and he stuck with them. And
I'll stop you, Pete. DJ went there without an offer,
right?
So they were going to have Cam Ward and DJ in basically the same weekend, different days, but the same weekend.
Wow.
And DJ goes without the offer, which at that level of transfer portal recruit, that does not happen.
No,
but he wanted to play there, and he wanted to show them he wanted to play there.
Yeah, totally,
man.
So we keep going. This one back over to Andy, going to the trenches. Offensive lineman Seth McLaughlin.
Oh man, this is such an interesting story. Period. Seth McLaughlin is going from Alabama to Ohio State. He's the center from Alabama. Remember the Rose Bowl last year, all of the snap issues. It was a whole, like, it was one of those things. I remember sitting in the press box and saying to the person next to me, he has to transfer, like, as this is going on. Because the thing about Seth McLaughlin, you have to understand, he's a great blocker. He's a phenomenal blocker. And it almost was like this was a case of the yips more than anything else. And my thing was, okay, you got to get out of there because they're never going to forgive you or forget this. So go somewhere else. And if the yips still are there, you can play guard and be an NFL guard, and that'll be fine. But he's gone to Ohio State, he's gone to Columbus, and he's slotted in as their starting center. Yep. And it sounds like whatever issues were there are gone. So I hope that's the case. And because I'm not sure I've ever felt so bad for a player as I felt for Seth McLaughlin during the Rose Bowl.
I mean, that's a word. If this is sort of unprecedented, I mean, we're talking about a microscope on one play. Now, granted, it's one of the biggest snaps of that kid's career and the setting and all that stuff. But you want to talk about a gift for Ohio State. I mean, this is a extremely high quality center prospect that you're essentially getting because they kicked him out the club. Like, this is absolutely a guy that you take and plug in right away and is going to be a fixture on this offensive front.
Just an interesting note too on this one. Believe he made his official visit to Ohio State the same day they brought in Will Howard. They landed like both commitments within 24 hours, and obviously they're going to be spending a lot of time together this fall. Okay, Cody, we're moving over to the wide receiver position. CJ Daniels.
CJ Daniels, that is Liberty to the Louisiana State University
Bingo.
Tigers.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is obviously LSU had an extremely strong year on offense last year. They lose their two big time weapons, right? Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, both first round picks. The guys they have coming in behind them, not untalented prospects, right? The problem is they're unproven. CJ Daniels is the opposite of that. CJ Daniels put on a clinic at Liberty last year and should step into an extremely high volume role at LSU. Him alongside Kyron Lacey, a lot of options in the slot there with LSU. He's going to be catching passes, though, from Garrett Nussmeier, which will be extremely interesting going into Baton Rouge. But there's a lot of opportunity for CJ Daniels to see a ton of targets in this offense. Garrett Nussmeier likes to rip the football. He is not scared to air it out. So expect CJ Daniels' name to be heard pretty often in Tiger Stadium this year.
This is a big one, too, and Cody can attest to it. For a minute, it looked like he might go back to Liberty for a day or two. Yeah. And he obviously goes to LSU, really likes what he sees and sticks there. And defensive line is still a huge question for LSU this season, but they definitely filled the holes in the wide receiver room. So interested to see how that plays out. All right, here we go. Another wide receiver here for Andy. Wide receiver Beaux Collins.
Beaux Collins is going from Clemson to Notre Dame, but in a weird way because he was graduating from Clemson and then transferring to Notre Dame as a grad transfer. And if I'm not mistaken, he was attending Notre Dame's practices as a guest, essentially, was not practicing with the team during spring because he was still a student at Clemson.
Right.
Correct. It's a really interesting pickup too, because it flew under the radar, all things considered, compared to some other really big names that were available.
Well, and this is a position of need for Notre Dame, and it's a situation where Beaux probably needs a change of scenery. Listen, Clemson has been searching for the next T. Higgins since T. Higgins has left, and they haven't found it yet. And maybe they haven't one of their young guys this year, but that has been probably the biggest difference between the ultra successful version of Clemson, where it just felt like there was this assembly line of incredible receivers dating back to DeAndre Hopkins, Adam Humphries, Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams, T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, like you name it. They just, Hunter Renfrow, they just had so many deadly receivers, and they've not had a difference maker really at that position. Beaux Collins was one of those when he was recruited, he was supposed to be, but he hasn't really been. But he goes to Notre Dame where, you know, is he going to be the number one receiver? Probably not. but they need more playmakers out there. They need anybody who can help, and I think he can help them.
Yeah,
Totally.
I agree. I think it's just somebody that Notre Dame, this is a perfect opportunity for both parties, right? If Beaux Collins comes in, gets catch balls from Riley Leonard, and I think this is something that could essentially give him a spark that he's needed. Cade Klubnik had some struggles last year at Clemson. I think Riley Leonard is somebody that they feel like they can trust to deliver footballs to their skill guys, and Beaux Collins fits that build of guys that you can essentially feed the ball to and just let him do what he does best. So
yeah,
I think this works for both parties.
Agreed.
Well, and Jaden Greathouse started out last year pretty well and then got hurt, so we never really got to see him get going. And then Jordan Faison, maybe the most interesting one, slot guy who also a star midfielder on the lacrosse team, helped Notre Dame's lacrosse team win the national title this year.
Another guy I didn't put on here that I almost did is the Florida international wide receiver, Chris Mitchell. Yeah. He had a really productive career at Florida International. And interested to see how he plays out with Riley.
The question is, will you put the guy who transferred from the receiver who transferred from FAU to somewhere? Is he on the list?
I can't give away. I can't give away.
I'm not gonna make you do that.
I literally couldn't even tell you who you're talking about. So hopefully that goes.
There's another one for me to steal. Let's go.
All right, here's an interesting one that I won't be surprised if it goes for quarterback Ty Thompson.
So I'm trying to think where Ty. So I know it was Oregon to Tulane.
Oh, bingo! There you go.
Beautiful.
Good job.
Shout out to my former student coworker that is now quality control on Tulane, which is the reason I remember that. But yeah, I mean, Ty Thompson was a really coveted kid out of high school. I remember when we got him to camp at Texas A&M. This is somebody who's looked the part for a really long time. I think he just needed an opportunity. And especially with what Michael Pratt was doing at Tulane, you plug in someone like Ty Thompson, who I think arguably probably has more arm talent than someone like Michael Pratt. I think the biggest thing for him in this Tulane offense is getting the reps and getting consistent and playing at game speed, right? This is someone that's going to be needing a lot of reps. And I think at Tulane and the way that offense is catered to the quarterback, Ty Thompson could really become that player that we really thought he was going to be out of high school.
Well, and he waited his turn at Oregon and, got passed over, recruited over when they brought in Bo Nix. And so he was very patient, but yeah, it's time for him to figure out if he's capable of being a starter at this level. And Tulane's a good spot to try.
Dante Moore, Andy, right? Didn't they bring in Dante Moore over
there?
They
did. So and that was before Ty left. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. This next one is on here more because I want to have it as a conversation topic than it is anything else. And funny enough, it falls to Andy. Quarterback Jaden Rashada.
That is
that's a
good one, Pete.
don't sue me if I get this wrong, Jaden, but let's see. Well, initially committed to Miami, flipped to Florida, signed with Florida, never showed up at Florida, went to Arizona State, started 2 games at Arizona State, got hurt, played in the Arizona game, thought he might be the starter, broke a finger moving a box while moving apartments, didn't participate in spring practice, put his name in the portal after spring practice, and is now at Georgia, where he is suing Billy Napier.
That was impressive.
Does he get extra points for that? That was amazing.
Yeah, I know, man.
I've got some experience talking about this particular player.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me because now we're starting to get some of these younger prospects. I think, ironically, Dante Moore, who we just talked about, right? These are guys that played meaningful snaps very early on in their career and take step ups in level of going to their next destination and are essentially going to be the backup or guys that are going to sort of sit and not play as many meaningful snaps as they did early on in their career. I wonder if this is a trend that we're going to see down the line. Is it a way for these guys to sort of develop, take time off, not feel so much pressure to be thrown into the fire so much? I'm curious what the thought process here is from some of these guys down the line. I'm just curious if this is going to be something we see more of in the future.
It seemed with Dante Moore, Cody, that was the thinking that, okay, because remember, Dante Moore was committed to Oregon, flipped to UCLA because he wanted to play immediately. It feels like he got to play and realized, wait, I'm maybe not ready for this. Perhaps Dan Lanning and company were right when they said, I need a little more seasoning before I'm going to be ready. And so I think that's what happened. I think with Jaden Rashada, it might be a little bit of that on Rashada's side. Also, not being able to pass up the opportunity to go to Georgia. From talking to people around Georgia, what I gather they want out of Jaden Rashada is what you mentioned. They have played some significant snaps. Now he got thrown in to their first game last year at Arizona State because Drew Pine was hurt. Ended up having to start against Oklahoma State in game 2. Played in the Territorial Cup game, and so he's played that. Nobody else at Georgia has, other than Carson Beck. So if Carson Beck gets hurt, you would have to go to Gunnar Stockton, who's not really played significant snaps at all. And so I think that's what they want in their room, is somebody who has been in that moment before. And if you're Jaden Rashada, it's hard to pass up. And then you have the only in college football story of a Georgia quarterback suing Florida's coach for fraud.
I'll just jump in too real quick here. It's the college sports business reporter in me wants to jump in and say he is suing Florida and not Florida, actually. Florida head coach.
Right. Florida very quick to point that out.
Yeah. Had to correct that one real quick. Slip of the tongue. But he is suing Florida head coach Billy Napier, former employee Marcus Castro Walker, and then the booster Hugh Hathcock. And as Andy said, only in college football. Sources told me that Kirby Smart knew about it, signed off on it, and now his backup quarterback is going to be suing the Florida head coach. Should be interesting to see how long this lawsuit lasts. Do they reach a settlement this summer? Does this play out in the courtroom during the season, or will it get delayed? A lot of questions there.
I am just amazed at how this all went down. Like, I remember the night you told me he was going in the portal, and you very quickly informed me that Georgia might be the destination, shortly after that. And I was like, no, that's not possible. Let me send some texts out, and some texts come back like, oh yeah, it's Georgia. I was like, no way. Come on. But that's, and so this lawsuit is very interesting too, because, I think if it gets to discovery, there'll be a lot of juicy bits in there, and people say, well, Jaden Rashada also wouldn't want to get it. I don't think Jaden Rashada cares if it gets to discovery. Like, Jaden Rashada has been painted as, a villain. Mm-hmm. He's been painted as incompetent, and he and his team, they can't make him look any worse than he already has. So he's just going to stick this thing out, I think. And then it's up to the folks who've been sued to decide how far you want to take this.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are going to get into the bottom half real quick. And I know we're running a little short on time. Not short, but don't want to make this go on forever. So we don't need to give the 5-minute breakdown.
Lightning round, baby.
At the same time, though, I have a feeling this is going to decide the winner of these next few. Oh, gosh. All right, Cody. We move over to you. Linebacker John Pius.
Ooh, fortunately, I did give this one. My little index card cheat sheet had the William and Mary to Wisconsin transfer on it. Mr. John Pius. Andy, did you have that one in your back pocket by chance?
No, I didn't. I was not going to be able to steal that one.
I'll take it. So yeah, John. William and Mary's been producing some guys, man. They do a good little job. So in Wisconsin, I think took 3 backers alone this cycle. So clearly they filled a need. John Pius fills it. Killer. That's a great take.
He's really good. I mean, he's had 40 and a half career tackles for loss, and then also 24 and a half sacks. I mean, we'll have to see how
downhill, man,
goes. Yeah, but he's gonna be really fun to watch on Saturdays.
Agreed.
All right, we keep going. Wide receiver Chris Brazzell.
Tulane to Tennessee, and Tennessee's very excited about him. I don't know if this other guy's in here, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling one, but Holden Stays, the tight end from Notre Dame that Tennessee got. They feel like Chris Brazzell and Holden Stays could be very big targets for Nico Iamaleava this year.
Yep.
All right.
And I was at Tennessee last week. Sorry for you.
Oh, okay.
I was at Tennessee last week, and they raved about these guys they brought in. They said they look the part. The way they've been moving around. Tennessee's going to be a problem this year, guys. I think they have a real shot.
Yeah. All right, Cody, you landed
Okay.
the player who's on his fourth school now. So
I'm screwed. Go ahead.
running back Jaron Mangum.
Oh, okay. So I see. I know he was at Michigan at one point.
Michigan
Or
State.
Colorado, Michigan State. Okay, yeah. See, I'm gonna just go ahead and take my L here
Okay.
before I say any dumb school names.
Andy?
He's a brother. The two brothers left Michigan State, got yelled at by Michigan State for leaving.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
The question is, like, where's he going?
So he was at two schools before Michigan State too.
He was at USF, right?
That's where I'm off.
I don't know what the other one is.
So he started at Colorado, went to USF.
Okay, he was at Colorado. Well, I was going to guess Colorado as the destination, so I'm not guessing that now.
No, went to Michigan State, and now he's staying in the Big Ten. I'll give that hint if either one of you want to give it a guess.
I don't know if I can take the points off of this. Oh, this was mine anyway.
No,
yeah, go ahead. No, this one was me. Yeah. So either way, if you know it, Andy, I don't know.
Well, you're giving me hints that you didn't give Cody. So it's somewhere else in the Big Ten. It's not Michigan. The brother went to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It can't be Indiana, huh?
It's not Iowa. Is it Minnesota? Is he rowing the boat?
Yeah, he's rowing the boat.
It is Minnesota.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Gosh,
I was gonna guess Colorado. Like I had Colorado in my head, and then you told me he was at Colorado before. I was like,
seen him in the jersey before. That's why it's burned in there. You've seen it.
We're gonna give you half a point for that one, Andy.
Thank you. I don't deserve.
Can we get a half ding, River? Get a half correct ding.
All right, we're gonna stick with Andy here. We're gonna go to the quarterback position. He is now on to his third school, Ta'Quan Roberson.
Oh, already started.
I don't know. I'm not even gonna try.
Me neither. This is go ahead.
You want me? Okay. So
he started at Penn State, correct?
Correct. So he started.
Yes. Okay. No, remember that now. That part is jogging my memory, but I don't know where he is now.
Me neither.
So he started at Penn State, had a really good 2022 season at UConn. Didn't play the most this past year, and then he's now at Kansas State.
Wow!
Hey, there's another one. So
interesting.
What classification is he there, Pete? Do you know?
I don't have that in front of me.
Or what year did he start at Penn State? Like, was he a 22 guy?
He started at,
because I was curious if he kind of falls in line with that Rashada, Dante Moore. Okay, so he's a vet going to be a backup at Kansas State. Very interesting.
Yep.
I was going to say he was pretty highly touted coming out, but I'm assuming that's Kansas State playing insurance and saying like, hey, we want a guy that's got snaps. Something happens to Avery. Plug and play guy that can at least hopefully limit
and a similar skill set, right? Because he's a pretty good runner.
Exactly. Mobile.
So you don't 100%. Have to change your offense too much if Avery goes down. Okay.
Interesting. That's kind of like what Robbie Ashford's doing at
South Carolina. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Unless hopefully Robbie Ashford's not on the list.
Correct.
He would be Oregon or Auburn, South Carolina.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Scoring at home.
All right, Cody. We are going to give you an interesting one here. Running back Jacory Merritt.
Okay, so this one is interesting. I'm gonna say So New Mexico State,
New Mexico,
New Mexico. Oh yeah,
you're
right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't give it to me. It's all right. New Mexico, Arizona, to Ole Miss, back to Arizona, right?
Yes.
Wow.
I'll take that.
Nailed it.
So I mean, this
and that's a recent one, right?
Last night,
like yesterday. I was gonna say, like Jacory. I mean, he ran for over 1,000 yards, I think, in New Mexico, right? I mean, this is somebody that was, I think, the focal point of that New Mexico offense, and this is someone that originally committed to Arizona, right, Andy? Or excuse me, Pete. I think this was a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
And he had flipped to Ole Miss. Pretty crowded running back room now at Ole Miss, taking at least like 3 or 4 running back transfers. Yeah. Goes back to Arizona. I think that is a huge win. You pair him up with Noah Fafita and Tatyro McMillan, that's a dangerous and dynamic offense.
He's a guy who's played a lot of football too. There's some eligibility questions at Ole Miss. We'll see if that gets all sorted out at Arizona, but definitely a guy who can be a high impact guy if all goes well.
For sure.
All right, Andy, over to you.
I'll take that point.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
go,
give you that
Andy. What do we
point.
got?
We'll give you that point.
I'm not confident. My confidence is drained after this.
Cornerback Greedy Vance.
Oh. Mm-mm.
Was it Florida State?
Yep.
Not Colorado.
No.
I don't
did
know
he
it
wind-
either.
Where did he wind up? Was he originally at LSU?
No. He started at
No, okay.
Florida State.
It seems like someone named Greedy Vance should play for LSU.
Yep.
Like,
Shout out Greedy Williams.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Do you want me to give it to you?
So he left Florida State and he's going to
Is this a one-time transfer, Pete?
One-time transfer.
God.
Take a stab.
Oh.
Andy. You can at least take a
I'm
stab.
trying.
I'll take one, too. I don't know it either.
So Missouri needed transfers, but they got a transfer from Clemson to come in and start. LSU need cornerback transfers, but I've already managed to eliminate them. Texas A&M.
No.
I like that guess. I'm gonna go. Like you said, safe bet. Is it Louisville?
No.
Wow. Okay, go ahead. What do you got,
He
Pete?
goes to USC. Gives.
They
That's
lost
right,
so many
because-
DBs too. Oh,
Danton Lynn took a bunch of similarly, like physically similar
Gosh,
corners.
We talked
Like,
about that. Oh,
yeah,
that's brutal. Yep, that's tough.
Okay,
That was a
two
good one,
left.
Pete. Good job.
Two left, and then we'll tally this up. All right, Cody, we go to you. Quarterback Max Brosmer.
Max Brosmer where was he at? Because I know the school. Okay, so is it Delaware?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Andy. What do you got? Because I know
New
you're
Hampshire,
so fired
Minnesota.
up. New Hampshire. That's what it was. New Hampshire, Minnesota.
Ethan Kaliakmanis hit the portal with a
Yeah.
quickness when Max.
Well, the running back. That's who he was throwing to, the Dylan Laub kid, right?
Dylan Laub, that's right. He was the best pass catcher at New Hampshire last year.
Gosh, great pool.
Oh, that
might have been the nail right there, guys. I think that was it.
So
that might
yeah,
have been the nail in
and
the coffin.
Ethan Kaliakmanis, by the way, your new starter at Rutgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot their starter left too. That's right.
All right.
Wild.
Evan Wimsett
portal,
now at
man.
Kentucky.
A
Hope that
portal.
wasn't your next one, Pete.
Nope. We're gonna close it out. We got one last one.
Go ahead.
He's a running back. This is over to Andy now. Running back Marcus Carroll.
I think I'm 2 up with 1 hole to go, so I'm feeling
Yeah.
pretty good about this one. I don't know. I don't know.
Phone it in. Yeah. Did he play at Maryland at one point?
No, that was
I'll just
Penny
go
Boone.
ahead and take it. I'm just gonna not say words anymore. I feel pretty good.
So he was a really productive running back last year at Georgia State. And now he makes the jump to the SEC and he goes to Missouri.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
right.
Replacing
this could be the-
what's his name? Because he's gone now, right?
Yeah.
The
Cody Schrader's gone. Yeah,
Cody
And this is
Schrader's
not the level of jump that Cody Schrader made from D2 to the
Right.
SEC, but yeah, Georgia State and we've seen a couple good Georgia State players head to the SEC through the years. That one thing that Sean Elliott didn't like about it, and that's one of the reasons why he's now an assistant coach in the SEC instead of the head coach at Georgia State. But yeah, okay, and then that's the thing. Like we're talking about
Cayden Green.
exactly,
at
we're talking
Mizzou.
Cayden Green earlier.
Yeah.
I have no concerns about Missouri's offense. I've said this a bunch of times. Like it's the defense that I need to see. How have you replaced some of the parts you lost? But offensively, I think they're going to be fine. And Marcus Carroll, listen, if you can be on an offense where you've got Brady Cook and Luther Burden in the passing game, you're going to run into some light boxes.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just a guy where he's going to be productive solely from the offense, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could hand Andy the ball back there. He's going to do a good job. But that's what I'm saying is like the way this offense spreads the ball out, like you mentioned, those light boxes, he's going to hammer people between the tackles.
All right. So the score at this moment is Andy has an 11.5 and Cody has 8.
I forgot what
taking- I'm taking things into my own hands here, and we're doing Final Jeopardy.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
man. All right.
So before I give you guys the question, I'll write this down on a piece of paper, and you guys tell me how much you want to wager.
Strong. Well, I mean, I'll make Andy sweat it. I'm gonna go 4.
Okay. See, I'm bad at math, but I guess I'll wager 1 because I only need 1 to beat him if he gets 4. He has 8, right? I have 11.5.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to give you guys a player.
Okay.
I don't want to know where he committed to. We're going to mix this up. I want the school, the junior college he started at.
Ooh.
So
I think Cody's got the advantage here.
So this is Oklahoma.
But
This
we'll
is
see.
former Oklahoma quarterback, and now Louisiana Monroe starting quarterback, General Booty.
Oh, General Booty.
What
But
junior
where did he
college
go
did
to
he start at?
JUCO? Pete, can you sing the Final Jeopardy song?
I'm only
Does
gonna.
it get
I know it's
demonetized
one of the
now?
ones in Texas. Obviously, it was not Blinn. He didn't go to Blinn. And I'm only going to say this because I read a story about an insane case involving the high kick dance team and a mom of a dancer from high school who kidnapped the coach and captain of this junior college's high kick dance team, Kilgore College.
Gosh, that was my guess too. It's not Kilgore? I thought it was Kilgore for sure.
Tyler.
Tyler. Oh,
college. Oh, wow.
We were geographically close, Cody.
Whatever rails this show was on, we have completely fallen off them. And I love it.
I really appreciate Pete making sure General Booty got into the show, but not in an obvious way. That's the best part. Too easy. It would have been. I could have put it 1, and you guys both would have got it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
man, that was brutal.
Man, I was worried because your knowledge of Texas is a lot better than mine of the state of Texas, and
So Andy's our winner.
When you were pulling Kilgore, I was like, "Oh, that's it! Like you nailed it."
I just read like a 4-year-old Texas Monthly story about that case a few weeks ago. If you haven't read that story, it's incredible.
Yeah, it sounds phenomenal. So I'm in.
Pete, Nakos, thank you so much. You were an incredible game show host. We're going to do this again.
I think I got it wrong.
What?
Okay. Is it Kilgore?
No.
Right, because I'm telling you how to go to the game show host you are.
I'm just joking. It was Tyler. He is from Allen.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah.
Wow. That's what I get for complimenting you as a game show host, Pete. That was tremendous. Everybody, I hope we learned something. I hope we are a little better prepared for who's playing where, because there's a lot of people that have moved around. We may have to do this again before the season, Pete.
I could come up with a whole nother batch. I feel confident.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy. Okay. Cody, just sometime in August, just be ready.
I'm prepared. I mean, now I know what I'm getting into. I got to dive down this list like heavy. And
I'm going to have my wife like quizzing me before
exactly
the night before the show.
Well, maybe
it'll be tremendous.
Too. Maybe we try to do like 40. We only did 24.
Yeah. My wife's gonna be like, "Who's Colin Lacey?" I mean, like South Alabama to Louisville. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, we didn't even get a Joey Slackman shout out. I
was to Florida
from Penn. Yeah, hell yeah. So I mean,
Gavin Wimsatt.
Yes,
I said Rutgers to Kentucky.
Yeah. But, Andy's the winner of this game today. But really, I think the winner is the fans and Pete Nakos, man. Like, what a treat to have him a part of this thing. So
what a resource we have at our disposal at On3. That's all I know. Gentlemen, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful, wonderful game. And guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow.